It's over 30 degrees in here, so this is going to be quite short, I hope. Big weekend. I've said before that one of the best things about being involved in the vinyl community is that you get to meet people face to face. You meet up at record fairs, you travel to record fairs, you do a bit of record shopping together and so on. But this weekend is a particularly big one because I'm flying over the pond all the way to Toronto. So tomorrow, at this time, I'll be in the air above the Atlantic, heading initially to Toronto for a few days and meeting Brian the Embryonic Robot and the French Vinyl Addict, amongst several others. Do a bit of sightseeing as well, and then I'll be heading down to Buffalo for a further few days and the great MGK Boston's annual VC get together. So it's gonna be great. So before I disappear off for a few days, I thought what I'd do is I'd add 5 more albums to my Dave's FAVE500 listing. And these albums are all live albums. And I've been meaning to do like best live albums of the 1970s, you know, because that's when the live album had its heyday. And I've just not got around to doing it. But I'm picking 5 today, and they're not the only 5 that are going to appear in this FAVE500. But they are 5 great live albums. All from the 1970s and one from the 80s. All but one from the 70s. Live albums. Why do they matter? Well, it was a surrogate for a greatest hits set that a band could put out before they were on the wane, when often the greatest hits sets came out to try and generate some career longevity. It was a way of kind of providing usually a value for money package for fans that they could tap into the best of the band's career up to that particular point. And often they would be a bit of a milestone, and beyond the live album there would be a bit of a transition to slightly different musical direction perhaps, or a really big album. Maybe they were working on something for 2 years and they needed something between albums to release, and so they thought, well, we're not ready with the next album just yet, but we'll put the live album out. But they're also good on their own terms as well, because the best live albums trick your brain into believing that you're there, that there's an excitement. You can just kind of almost feel like the adrenaline that's flowing through the band members, where they realize that it's kind of one take and one take only. There's no overdubs, as it were. There's no going back and doing another take. So they're right there before a live audience and super concentrated on what they're actually delivering. Also, but you also got some of the best of these albums generated the definitive versions of famous tracks from the band's career. And there's one band in particular. Let me just dig out an album. Now, when it comes to it, I'll dig out an album that I can make reference to on that particular point. The other thing is that they follow the arc of the concert. Now, there's a very famous live album that was released in the 70s. That is perhaps the most popular amongst fans. But I attended several gigs on that band's tour, and the 2 LP set does not follow the show. You halfway through the 2 LP set, you've got the encore, and when you've been there, it's really jarring, even though the individual tracks on that live album are absolutely superb. Anyway, a few kind of... Oh, and also, there's a lot of live albums out there were kind of just like going through the motions. The bands didn't really step up and deliver something that was kind of worthy of standing out in the catalogue. But anyway, I'm going to pick these 5 albums and go through them right now. So the first one of the greatest live albums in rock history, is Deep Purple's Made in Japan. 1972. Absolutely has the definitive versions of Highway Star, Strange Kind of Woman, Smoke on the Water, Child in Time. Kind of let down a little bit by The Mule and the overlong Space Truckin', which takes up all of side 4, and Lazy on side 3, kind of a blues shuffle that they still do, or still did until very recently on their live shows. And it's great live, but a bit too kind of predictable. So it's not completely perfect, but this was engineered by Martin Birch, who I think was behind the Machine Head album. Might have been involved in rock, maybe not, who knows. But the sound from this is fantastic. It's alive, and it just kicks off in fantastic style with that aforementioned Highway Star. Wonderful album. Most of you rock fans out there will have a copy of this. Excuse me. Less popular, less big as a band, is this one. And I'm just going to pull out an album here that kind of was my introduction to the band, and it is Barclay James Harvest. This is a compilation on the Starline label, same label that Pink Floyd's Relics was released on. It's an offshoot of EMI. It's called Early Morning Onwards, and it's got tracks from the first 3 or 4 albums, including their very famous, the most famous track they had, Mockingbird. I mean, look at that. Early 1970s fashion here. Nice, kind of pastoral, folky, hugely influenced by the mellow Beatles, the mellow side of the Beatles. And that was to manifest later on in their career as well, that Beatles connection. But this is really, really nice to hear. But it lacks, massively lacks the power that exists in their 1974 double live album, Barclay James Harvest Live. And this is a great example where you get the definitive versions. There's a whole lot more aggression, the band's playing more assertively. There's more dynamic swings. The songs maybe are a little bit longer as well, longer guitar solos, always very tasteful though, because the guitarist John Lees was very tasteful. So he didn't shred, he played melodic lines absolutely gorgeously. You've got double neck bass guitar and 12 string, no doubt, by Les Holroyd, who's those two, John Lees and Les Holroyd, are the main songwriters. Woody Wolfson, who plays the mellotron, and Mel Pritchard on drums. But this is superb. It's got a great version of Mockingbird. It's slightly faster than the studio version, but it opens up with Summer Soldier and Medicine Man. I'm mentioning tracks here, and if you're not a fan of Barclay James Harvest, you won't know these songs. You just won't know them. But if you like that kind of symphonic prog with the heavy Beatles influence from the early 1970s, you could pick this album up really cheap at record fairs. Probably a $5 for a double album. Sounds great. Brilliant performances. One of the most important live albums in my listening time. Another album from the 1970s, this one from 1973, is a band that kind of had kind of a hard rock band, but with folky kind of overtones there. And their most famous album is called Argus. So if you know, you know. It's WishboneAsh, and this is their double live album, Live Dates. Now this image here is from one of the what used to have date boxes, so you could be dates with pins, and if you like dates, they'd come in a box like that, pressed into the box. And I remember my mother loved them. But this is kind of a hard rock. It's the folk stuff is not so strong here, but this is again a great rock album, bags of energy. Again, some of the most definitive versions. On side 4 rather, you've got Phoenix from the first album, WishboneAsh. Longer version, really great. But you've got tracks from Argus, The King Will Come, Warrior, Throw Down the Sword. You also have Blown Free from that album too. And you've also got albums from tracks from Wishbone 4, which is the album that followed. But this is a really exciting album. It's recorded Croydon, Newcastle, Reading and Portsmouth. But yeah, really great. Very nice Very nice sound this band has. Twin guitar, so no keyboards, but twin guitar. And again, no shredding. Great melodic lines playing off each other with a bit of riffage here and there. So yeah, very nice. Kind of semi-progressive in places as well. So very, very good band. Definitely one that viewers of this channel will not be surprised at seeing, and that is the 1973 budget release by Genesis called Genesis Live. 5 tracks. Watch of the Skies, Get 'Em Out by Friday, The Return of the Giant Hogweed, The Musical Box, and The Knife. And they are unquestionably the definitive versions, because one of the problems with a lot of prog bands in the early 1970s, and Genesis had this problem as well, is that they were making tempo changes or time signature changes. There'd be wide dynamic swings. The songs would often be made up of kind of knitted together from different parts into a whole, and it'd sometimes be very, very different. There'd be like an acoustic section and then a heavy section, and these transitions on the studio albums, maybe it's just spent too much time in the studio, but they were kind of clunky. And here you've got all those transitions, but because it's in a live setting and the band is really on fire, those transitions are really smooth, and the songs kind of cohere in a way that make them really stand out from the studio version. So that is an absolutely brilliant live Genesis album, if you like that sort of thing. And finally, an album that we'd all been waiting for, came out in the mid-1980s, and fans of this artist had been kind of hoovering up whenever they could get their hands on bootlegs. They would just go after this artist's bootlegs, because some of the shows that were released on bootleg, often from a radio broadcast, were in fantastic sound quality, and they were incredibly exciting. And when it finally came out, it really did come out. No double album for this guy. This is Springsteen's Live 75 to 85. A 5 LP box set or a 3 CD version, if you chose to go for this one. This has tracks. It actually tells you where the tracks come from. One, the earlier ones from 78, the first one's from 75, excuse me. Then there's 78 from the Roxy in LA, and that bootleg, which is available on a 3 CD set, is possibly the best live show I've ever heard. Incredibly exciting and intimate. I mean, I've never been to the Roxy, but my understanding is it's a fairly small venue, and it's just, the band is absolutely on fire. But then you've also got tracks from the River Tour, and then you can hear the scale just expanding when they're doing the Born in the USA tour. And one of the other great things about live albums, and this is a superb example, is that here you get tracks that do not appear on studio albums, or maybe cover versions of other artists' material. So on here, what have we got? This Land Is Your Land by Woody Guthrie. You have War, Edwin Starr's War, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And you got Jersey Girl, which is written by Tom Waits. This is an absolutely brilliant album. Show you a little bit what's inside here. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. Tickets, cuttings, and all sorts. Maybe there's a little bit of, there's a review, maybe a review. There's a wristband here from Cardiff last year, May 24. Oh, we've got here tour program from the Human Touch and Lucky Town tour. Just saw several gigs on. Here's the booklet that comes with it, with the official set. Great photographs in here as well, and all the lyrics to the songs. That ended up as the cover for Hungry Heart, I think. Hungry Heart 7-inch 45 here in the UK. Yeah, that's from the Born in the USA tour, obviously. There's a review in here that I was looking at the other day. Oh, I told you it was hot in here. Camera overheated and stopped recording. So, 10 minutes later, where was I? I was kind of giving you a bit of a heads up on what's in this booklet, but I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to talk about the 2 reviews, just a sign-off review from Q Magazine, I think, and one here from the New Musical Express. So here, from Q, live 1975 to 1985 should represent an attractive proposition both to veteran Bruceophiles who wanted something like this for years, and to the curious but uninitiated looking for a convenient point of entry. After all, if David Byrne is the brains of American big rock league and ZZ Top or its sense of humour, then Bruce Springsteen still represents its heart, its integrity, its guts and its conscience. And from the NME, live 1975-85 fulfills promises and supplies affirmations. It's all too easy to forget rock music is still capable of this. Almost without exception, each composition is superior to the original recorded version. Expressiveness more fully coloured, tenderness more warmly cushioned, rage more vociferous. It may not prove Springsteen is invincible, although he's closer than anyone has ever been, but it will make him immortal. £30? Cheap at twice the price. So there you go. Live 1975 to 85 from Springsteen and the A Street Band. Closing out this video of 5 fantastic live albums. There'll be more to come. Next time I'll see you on video might be from Toronto. We'll see. Catch you soon.